Good evening, Dice Tower. Yes, that look of surprise on my guest's face, almost as if he didn't know he was going to be here. But
I was just playing Civilization on my computer, and you just pop up, Mike. You just pop up. I'm here happily playing Civilization to the wee small hours of the morning, and then I get a Mike Delisio calling me.
Well, nothing good is going to end when it starts with a Mike Delisio call.
That's true.
Look, Dan, obviously, I've already hit the wall. I mean, I've got you back. You've already been on, and I brought you back. This is clearly a sign that things have gone horribly wrong.
Pure desperation. You've run out of all your friends. No one's answering the phone to you anymore, and so it's Dan Hughes' turn.
It's down to Dan Hughes, and so the very first, a lot of times on these live chats, Dan, the first comment will be someone saying first, right? Not Sam Simmons. Not Sam Simmons. No, Sam says, and by the way, a lovely penguin avatar. I don't know if you can see that. Sporadically bored. BGG nominated. Looking forward to this chat, Sam says. Well,
BGG Golden Geek Award losing podcast, Sporadically Bored.
Right, the number 4 podcast number 4 above many of our friends' other podcasts, but we don't know for sure that we were number 4, but I'm relatively sure that we were number 4. So
we're definitely number 4. Yeah,
indeed. Well, for anyone who may not know, I would like to formally introduce my guest tonight, Mr. Dan Hughes, who, from a Dice Tower standpoint, is most well known for what, sir?
For being the less charismatic half of Dan and Cora. That's what
Correct.
I'm known as.
Correct.
A former board game breakfast segment, but now I've got a video of my very own because Tom doesn't want us to infect the rest of the board game breakfast. A kind of series I do with my daughter Cora about kids games and things like that.
Yes, and those have been fantastic. I know a lot of people have been happy to see those back. I've read that in the comments, but also Dan and I do a podcast on the Dice Tower Network known as Sporadically Bored, which for the time being is still okay because Tom has not realized that we very rarely, if ever, talk about board games.
Indeed.
We're more often talking about soggy bread, which that was a hard-hitting episode. The wet bread.
That was a hard-hitting episode with Z Garcia. But the next episode is going to be all about the carpet moth infestation I've got in my house, Mike. I've got large notes about my carpet moth infestation. I'm not happy about it at all.
No.
There's moths eating me rugs, and that's never a good thing.
There's moths eating me rugs.
Yeah.
I like that. For some reason, that sounds like it belongs on a shirt. There's moths eating me rugs. Okay.
Some genuine Yorkshire dialect for you there.
It's sure something. Oh boy, I'm a little concerned, Dan. It looks like I might be coming in hot. So if I'm a little loud, I'm hoping to take care of that right now. And I'm sure people will tell me in the chat. But I've barely even scrolled to the chat at all. Let's see if anyone's saying Mike is incredibly loud. No.
I think they're just saying, could Mike go on mute and let Dan speak some more? That's what I'm reading.
Oh, is that what they're saying? I find that highly doubtful. All right, well, Dan, it's lovely to have you back on, even though you were clearly my 4th choice. So we have some wonderful friends in the chat. I don't know if you've noticed, Dan. We've got Dead Squirrel. We've got Timon here. We've got Dan, unfortunately, here.
I'm there.
So
we've got Jerry Baker.
No, we don't.
Snobs.
Do we really?
Yeah, he's there. He's asking what carpet moths are.
Well, here's the thing. I would love to get into a carpet moth discussion, but I know that this is supposed to be coming up on our next episode. So
we can't spoil it.
No,
can't spoil that. That's gold in them hills. I'm not wasting that on the Dice Tower YouTube channel.
No,
that's a Sporadically Bored exclusive.
Correct, and we've got to give the people something to look forward to. So just know on the next episode, whenever it might be, we will have a in-depth discussion of carpet moths, where clearly there will be confusion going around. So let's
Actually, the
see.
Asian brown house moth, but let's not, quibble.
Have you researched it? Is this specifically what this moth is?
I've been doing all sorts of etymology. I've been looking up. It's got 3 spots on the wings, Mike. That's how you can tell.
Is that right?
Spots on I found some in my breakfast cereal the other day. It wasn't good. I mean, I fished it out and just ate it anyway, but it wasn't good. That's what I'm saying.
Let me explain something to you, Dan. If I were to find a winged creature in any dry good within my house, I'm talking one winged creature in any dry good,
like a sparrow or something,
like a fly inside of a packet of oatmeal, for example. Anything.
Yeah.
Every piece of food would be removed from my house, and a full fumigation would be taking place within 15 minutes.
That costs money, though, Mike. It's a lot easier to get your spoon and fish the moth out and kind of fling it in the dustbin. That's a lot. That's cheaper. Cheaper.
Oh, it's cheaper. Dan, should we at least make the illusion that we're going to acknowledge that there is a whole lovely chat here?
Yeah, go on then.
All right. Oh, we have a good morning from sunny Perth from Doug Cunningham. Ever been to Perth, Dan? Been to Perth?
No, I've been to Melbourne, but not to Perth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not been to either.
There's no more to that. My mum's Australian, so I visited family in Melbourne when I was a young child. I can't remember it. So it's completely wasted. She might as well have just left me at home, but still.
Yes. The Mr. E asks, isn't Dan up late for this?
I am up late. And I'm also nearly missed it because, as I said, I got quite addicted to Civilization 5, which has been a big problem for me recently with the staying up late and playing Civilization. So I only just barely looked at my watch and realised Mike would be ringing.
Yes.
So
is there a particular?
It's late.
Yeah, it's early actually, right? Let's be pedantic. It's early. Is there a specific civilization that you tend to gravitate towards more with the civilization?
England.
I said civilization, Dan. You do play as England?
How dare you? How dare you?
I thought I might be safe with that because most sensible Brits would be asleep right now.
Yes. We get ships of the line, Mike. You can't say better than that, can you?
Well, I love my British friends, and I say that in all jest. But do you usually play as England?
Yeah, because I know the towns. I rename all the towns anyway to Huddersfield. There are various villages in the surrounding area.
Are all of the towns Huddersfield?
Yeah. Huddersfield 1, Huddersfield 2,
Huddersfield
3, Huddersfield Prime. That's yeah.
Stick H says, Dan, my daughter who is 8 enjoys watching the reviews with Cora. Thanks.
Oh, jolly good. Yeah,
Indeed.
She'll like that. She likes people watching her because she's a narcissist like her dad.
I wonder where that could have come from. Nick has a question. Is there, Dan, your daughter's name is unique. Is there a nice backstory about that name from your neck of the woods? Does Cora have anything to do with Yorkshire or the surrounding regions?
We wanted a relatively old-fashioned name, and so I googled old-fashioned names, and Cora came up. It's quite a working-class name. It's kind of name that a maid would have been called in kind of the Edwardian times or whatever. It's a upstairs, downstairs. It's definitely a downstairs name.
Gotcha.
It's not very often used anymore, but people do exist. Obviously, with the name Cora, it's not that unusual.
Right.
But yeah, like I think a few months after she was born, The Legend of Cora came out, which is spelled
differently. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no, I think
it's interesting. I would have thought that names like Blanche would have come up, or Edith, or Thelma.
Edith, that's a good one.
Yeah,
there's a theory about kids' names, isn't there? That you tend to pick names that your grandparents are called. So soon it'll all be Mike and things like that.
Right, that is true.
And Dave, Peter.
I wonder, you didn't do this with your son though, because your son's name is not Jeeves. I feel like that was a missed opportunity.
true. It's true. I could possibly rename him.
I'm sure at his age he'd have no issue with that.
I'll go wake him up now and tell him, Evan, giving
You're
you a new
now
name.
Jeeves.
Yeah, you are now called Jeeves. Go back to sleep. It's all right.
Just get used to people asking you things all the time. All right.
Yeah.
Is Ask Jeeves a...
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
I'm not entirely sure what his first name was.
Kent Parker asks, is this what the Spobo podcast recording looks like? No, Dan is clothed right now. Thank you, Dan, for doing something that's out of the ordinary. Have you heard about this, Dan? This was something that was part of the news on Board Game Breakfast this morning. Samuel Unwin asks, what are your guys' thoughts on the Ticket to Ride stay-at-home edition? Had you heard anything about this?
No. Is it like a print and play map for Ticket to Ride?
It's a print and play map and cards, I think, too. So, Z brought up an interesting point. That's a lot of printing to do, right? I mean, I think you'd be cheaper just buying a copy of the game, wouldn't you, than printing all that stuff off? Because printer ink is like gasoline, like razor blades, remarkably overpriced for what it is. There are certain items, and any listeners of the podcast know that there are certain items that I have very significant issues paying money for. Printer ink is one of them. I'd rather just buy a new printer every time.
I rent my print ink.
Yeah.
I pay a monthly subscription, and it all comes through the post. So I'm fine with it.
That's probably not a bad idea. I do the razor blade thing that way, where I pay like $7 a month and I get blades every, 2 weeks or something like that. So Samuel, I'm sorry, I don't know much about it. I'm all for companies giving away stuff for free that maybe can help in this time, but I just don't know much about it.
It's a good idea. I'm not sure if you've already got Ticket to Ride, I'm not sure you really need a print and play map. Really. Yeah, right. I couldn't be bothered with it, but yeah, if you're really into Ticket to Ride, then you're a bit weird, but that's fine, whatever.
Let's see. Right. Oh, see, I'm going to do this for you, Dan. Let's see here. Let's see here. Yeah, Kabuki did say I am a bit loud. I think, but this was an older comment. I think I've adjusted my volume, and hopefully...
I think you should turn it way down.
You think
way down. Oh.
Wolf Gratz says, it's nice to hear a good English accent. I agree, Wolf. I'm sorry that we have Dan, but for the time being...
How dare you? This is... You're lucky my daughter's asleep in the next room, otherwise I'd be screaming at you.
Okay, well
You're a disgrace. You're an absolute disgrace to the Dice Tower and to your profession as a professional YouTuber.
Well, that train left the station a long time ago, Dan.
Like and subscribe once. You don't know what you're doing. You've got no idea what you're doing. I don't know why they pay. It's ridiculous. The fact that you're paid to do this kind of stuff is absolutely...
I'm supposed to be paid.
Well, yeah.
Stick H. Mike, the FDA has approved amounts of bug bits in packaged food. No. I refuse to believe that. That's absolutely not true. This is me staying blissfully ignorant.
Crickets and stuff like that, through the chocolate-coated crickets and grasshoppers and things like that. You need to get your protein levels up, Mike.
Nick Wagner shares
if you want Mike to do a live maggot-eating challenge on the Dice Tower, then write it to Tom. Everyone write into Tom right now. Get your email addresses open. Dear Tom, Mike mentioned doing a maggot-eating contest. I really want to see that, and I will donate to the next Kickstarter. It could be a stretch goal.
Oh.
Fictional campaign for Mike's maggot-eating exploits to be a stretch goal on the Dice Tower. I think it's going to be fantastic. Let's do it.
Dan, you're an ideas man. You're an ideas man. Let me tell you, you just keep coming up with. Nick Wagner tells a horrifying story about a spider and a Subway sandwich that I'm gonna discretion being the better part of valor. I'm not going to repeat it here, although it's there in the chat. Jerry Baker of the Board Game Snobs podcast says,
podcast, if anyone's looking for a good podcast.
It is good, except that Jerry Baker has broken every bit of etiquette and is shouting at me with an all-caps statement. Mothman Prophecies is the best Richard Gere movie. First of all, Jerry, that's kind of like saying carpet moths are the best type of moths.
Yeah.
Are there? I mean, what do you got there?
I don't actually know that many Pretty
Woman.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to say. I think Pretty Woman I know. I don't ever see Richard Gere in anything else.
American Gigolo, wasn't that him? Like, wasn't that his first movie?
I haven't seen it. I don't know. Could be.
There was a movie.
Full Monty, he was in that.
Was he in Full Monty?
No.
Titanic. He was in Titanic. He was in.
Oh, that's Leonardo DiCaprio, you fool.
He was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He played Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's Harrison Ford. Oh, I can't believe you don't know. You just need to stop now before you ruin your street cred.
So Timothy. I just called my wife Timothy, Dan. Dan, I just called my wife Timothy.
Wow. Tiffany
Harazanova. I like to call her Tiffany. Check, please. I like to call her Timothy. She asks, what about the palmetto bug that visited you in the shower? Did I talk about the palmetto bug in the shower?
No, I don't. No, I didn't know.
So there have been a number of people here in the chat tonight talking about bugs in Florida because, you've got your carpet moth situation there in Huddersfield. And Florida is well known for many things. If you believe Dan, it's known strictly for knockoff Disney stores. But it's also known for bugs, right? Big bugs.
And lizards. I've been there. I've seen them.
Lizards are everywhere, and I love the lizards. Love lizards.
Oh, I love me a few lizards.
They're good
Don't mind
eating.
them in your cornflakes, do you, Mike?
No, they're good eating. But I wasn't aware of these palmetto bugs, and I came across one day, one morning while I was walking into the shower. So this should paint a picture for you. I have not woken up completely because I don't wake up until I get out of the shower. I don't take my coffee or anything until after I'm out of the shower, after I've gone through my extensive beauty regimen. And look, this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen by itself. So I get into the shower and I'm maybe 20% awake. And you know that the scene in The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, where people are running, but you don't see the birds right away. What you see are the shadows of these flapping wings, and they're huge and they're ominous. There was some flapping thing that was, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet long in the shower. And it looked like a giant cockroach. And while I'm exaggerating, I'm not exaggerating that this was this big. And I don't know if you can get... It was almost as big as this iPhone 11 Plus. A big phone, right? This is a big bug in my shower.
They don't get that big.
Dan, the bug was huge.
Yeah, well, I keep forgetting you're a little teeny tiny man as well. So
it was huge.
That makes a big difference.
Chat, I apologize. This is exactly what happens when Dan and I get together. We pretty much refuse to acknowledge other people exist. This palmetto bug was gigantic, and it was terrifying. And then I went to work. This was before, obviously, the quarantining and all of this was happening. This was when I first moved to Florida. And, I told the story to the people, and they're, oh, yeah, that's a palmetto bug, which I guess is some kind of a giant, mutant, man-eating cockroach type thing. The issue that I had with it was... I started to look around the condominium and I legitimately have no idea how this thing got into the condominium, because the only orifice of the home it could have fit into was the front door, completely open front door.
It was probably when you moved. It's probably been sleeping underneath your pillow. That's where they like to live, Mike, under pillows.
Is that right? You know this about the palmetto bugs,
they come out when you sleep and lick your eyeballs. That's
what
they do. Yeah.
Well, there goes my sleeping for this evening. Well, thanks for the question, Timothy.
Yeah.
All right. Mike is very loud and Dan is very quiet. Okay, well, I'm going to try to turn you up, Dan.
Okay.
But I already turned myself down. When I talk at the top of my voice, I'm just going into the yellows, so I should be okay.
What about me?
Hopefully,
so I speak. I shall speak. Mike, buy a $30 safety razor and a box of blades. That's Corey Brown's suggestion.
Oh, is that what somebody said? Okay.
Yep.
I don't know that I've ever used a safety razor. I honestly don't know that I have.
What's the difference between a safety razor and a normal razor?
Isn't a safety razor the one that is like where you can actually see the exposed blade? All right. Yeah, well, that's what I would. No, not well. You see the blades, but I use one of those like 3-blade that have all the safety edges on them.
You're a mug. You need to buy a cheap stuff from the supermarket.
Look. This is a $7. This is a $7 a month thing. I don't know. Jerry Baker says England's main weapon. England's main weapon in Civ 5 is Earl Grey and cucumber sandwiches.
Yeah.
And biting sarcasm. Don't forget the biting sarcasm.
Yeah.
You have to build up to that. You have to build up to that technology. Biting sarcasm isn't a level 1 technology. You have to build up to that. Let's see here.
Come on, get reading the questions out.
Okay, well, yeah. If you see a question, that's good. Let me know. I'm still.
I'm leaving it to you.
I'm still back to. We're still talking about names and. Jeeves, people are still talking about you. I'm scrolling all the way down.
I love Jeeves and Worcester. P.G. Wodehouse is the greatest author that ever lived, in my opinion. Anyone wants some funny, incredibly funny books? Either check out the Jeeves and Worcester novels or the other Blandings Castle novels. Absolutely fantastic. Blandings Castle. Anyway, whatever. Really good.
Yes.
So there you go.
You
I'm just
sent
filling
me
in for you while you're. I sent you one, and
you sent me one.
No,
I haven't. I have not read it yet. I'm going to be honest with you. I'll let you know when I do read it.
Yeah, 2 years ago I sent you that. And have you watched that video I sent you either?
I did watch the video. That's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
It is fantastic. You want to explain it so that people know what we're talking about?
It's quite well known these days. It's a channel called Cracking the Cryptic, and it's a channel where a guy does Sudoku puzzles on his computer and talks about it as he's doing them. And it sounds like that would be dull, but it's not dull. It's actually both exciting and relaxing, which I'm not quite sure how that happens, but it is.
Yeah, it can happen. Timothy says it came up the drain in the shower, I think. So
that's the other thing. They come up the toilets as well, Mike. They come up the toilets. When they hear it open, they come up the toilets. Gotta watch out for that. Under your pillows in the toilets. They call them the under and up bugs.
Oh, apparently there are palmetto bugs in South Carolina as well. Dead Squirrel says. Oh yeah, Z's calling me out. He said that the bug gets bigger every time I tell the story.
Yeah. It's not that Z. It's just might get smaller. He's only a little wee man. A little wee man he is.
It was.
If you don't see him in person, he comes up to my waist. Like a little leprechaun.
It was a large bug. That's all I'm going to say.
It's like a borrower. That's what he's like.
People are asking how high-pitched my scream was. I'm just getting brutalized in this chat. This is
appropriately
shocking activity here. Look, I'm not seeing a lot of questions, but I think that's because we're not making any.
We're not interacting with people.
So here is a question from Munching Gamer. Does Dan ever play adult games, or does he only play kids games? No, he does not play adult games. So let me find the.
I do play adult games. I not quite as much as I used to do these days because I've mainly got kids in the house. But no, I'm a big adult. Not adult games. I'm a big fan of proper games. I play all sorts of games. I'm just like Mike plays other games other than solo games.
Correct.
I play other games other than children's games. Although I have a great love of children's games. I don't mind playing children's games.
No.
My favourite game is Railways of the World, which is a fantastic game by Martin Wallace.
You turned me on. You turned me on to it, and I think it's fantastic as well. What's the game that you were talking about, the Commands and Colors implementation, the space?
Oh, yeah, Red Alert Fleet Battles or something like that. It's like Memoir 44, other than it's with spaceships, and the board is 3 foot wide by about 4 foot long, and it's all a cloth thing, and it's fantastic. You feel like you're kind of well, you don't feel like you're a World War II person pushing the big models around, but it's just wonderful table presence, and yeah, it's fantastic. It's quite unknown, I think. It's by the Plastic Soldier Company, Little Plastic Soldier Company, something like that.
PSC, yeah, plastic.
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
Gosh, I'm hoping our sound levels are a little bit more normalized. I keep seeing things. All I can do is look at what Ecamm is telling me, and it makes it look like we should be in decent levels. So I apologize if it's not perfect, but I'll just blame Dan. So let's see what we have in our chat, Dan.
Yeah.
Mike, you are still louder than Dan. It's not the end of the world. So I think, Dan, what the problem is that you're...
I'm being quiet because I've got my daughter asleep in the room.
Yeah, and that's okay. Let's continue to do that.
Shall I go and wake her up?
I think you should, honestly, just for the benefit of the chat listeners. I think you really should. Okay, so there was a question in here about, and I went past it because you just kept blathering on about something, and I got confused. Here it is.
From 3 Men in a Boat, Rivercat 0338, if that is your real name. I have read it. It's fantastic. It's very PG Woodhousey. Right, carry on. Sorry. Ask your question.
Oh, it's fine. It's not my question. It's Kent Parker's question. Have you all tried the... do you know Kent Parker?
No, but he sounds like a fool.
Dan, I think you've missed the point of these daily chats. Kent, you sound like a intelligent...
Well,
and
let's see how the quality of his question first before we make up our mind about Kent.
Fair point. Kent Parker asks, have you all tried the Steam version of Warhammer Underworlds online? Alternatively, would an online skirmish game have the same appeal as one in person with the dice and minis? So, the first part of the question, I have not.
I've not known. In fact, I'm very close to selling my Warhammer Underworld stuff because I've been playing a lot of God Tier recently, which kind of scratches the same itch, which is a relatively unknown game from Steamforged. But scratches the same itch for me, but it's no deck building. I can't be bothered with the deck building of Warhammer Underworlds. I tend to net deck. But God Tier, you don't need to do that, and it scratches very much the same itch. And I have played some online skirmish games. I played Monster Apocalypse, which is a skirmish game all about like being Godzilla and King Kong and things like that, and giant robots fighting each other and throwing buildings at each other and things like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And it definitely scratched my skirmish game itch, but it's the more fiddly a game is, the more dice you got to roll or things you got to move around on Tabletop Simulator, the less enjoyable it is, I think. So I think online gaming is good for the simple basic games, and the more complex you get, the more of a pain it is. So it scratched an itch. I was glad to do it. I was glad to play a game with my friend to do it, but I don't think it would ever replace the real thing. Whereas I could see myself playing, I don't know, Azul or something like that on Tabletop Simulator as for pleasure. But I think it's a poor substitute. Is a big skirmish game, in my view.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I have not played Warhammer Underworlds, neither online or on the tabletop. I don't. The question is, would it have the same appeal? And I don't think so. I think it's nice that option is there. I think it's it's viable. You can certainly play it, but I do think that, especially skirmish games, I think that to some extent, the meta of being across the table from the person, especially if it's a two-player, and most skirmish games are two-player games. Not all, but most of them are. Don't you think that's fair to say? Yeah, a lot of time it's that kind of looking in their eyes and giving them, trying to make them think you're going to do something you're not, and you obviously lose that over an online platform. Dan, one thing you can say about there's a lot of things you could say about Jerry Baker. Most of them I wouldn't say here, but he does learn, and this time he said something without shouting. He said,
"Okay,
Mike is drinking La Croix like he's somebody. Mike is drinking La Croix like he's somebody." So this is my La Croix for the evening. This is a lovely peach pear. I'm going with the peach pear tonight, Dan. I thought it was a bold choice. I thought, look, anyone could go for the coconut. Right? People like the coconut La Croix, and I do like the coconut La Croix, but a lot of people are fine going with the single flavor La Croix. your tangerines, your coconuts, things like even your key lime. But I went with the peach pear because I feel like that's a bold flavor combination. That says a little something about me as a person, don't you think?
I think it certainly does say something about you as a person. Yes, the fact you've spent 2 minutes talking absolute claptrap. I've got no idea what you're talking about. Is it like a fizzy drink or something like that?
It's a fizzy drink. Yes, it's a carbonated water. Is
this what Tom's paying you for?
It's naturally.
You get away
essenced.
with this on Sporadically Bored because it's free. But
it's
you get paid.
It's sparkling water that's naturally essenced.
Ridiculous. You haven't even said like and subscribe once yet. Call yourself a professional YouTuber.
Dan, it's
Ding
implied.
the bell.
When you get to this level, it's an implied like and subscribe. I'm well beyond the overt, outspoken like and subscribe. It emanates from me as if it were a part of me. Kabuki Kid asks, any good books, movies, video games you have experienced during lockdown that you want to evangelize and tell us about? This sounds a little bit like A Few Acres of Rubbish, Dan, a segment from our podcast where we suggest something outside of the board gaming milieu for people that might be. You've talked about a couple of books already. Any movies or video games?
I've been playing a lot of video games. I've been playing mainly video games with Cora. We've been playing a lot of Lego Batman 3. That's quite good. Lego Marvel as well.
Mm-hmm.
What else have we been playing? I've been playing a lot of... the Banner Saga is fantastic on the PC. That's like a role-playing game, kind of a Viking sort of thing, a fantasy Viking type role-playing game, which is very emotional, I would say. And movies-wise, well, just the usual stuff. I'm currently taking Cora through The Hobbit. We're just finishing The Hobbit, and we're going on to Lord of the Rings next. So that's enjoyable, watching all that stuff. She's really excited by it, actually. Although we have to split them up because they're long films, man.
Oh, yeah, they are
films.
very long.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah. And Cracking the Cryptic, which is my favourite thing at the moment.
Yeah, it is pretty fantastic. I did get a game on the Switch here recently. I had been wanting to play, and I'm not going to make assumptions, Dan, but I will make a little assumption. You probably are not terribly interested in playing sports video games.
No.
Okay. I used to play Madden, which is American football. It's kind of like the granddaddy of the American football games. And I used to play that a lot, and I'd been really, really itching to play it. But it's not available for the Nintendo Switch, and I was not going to go out and buy a console just to play a game. But I had this sports game itch, and there was a baseball game on the Switch called, and I want to say the Switch. I'm trying to see how many times I can say Switch.
Yeah. See, they'll give you a free one.
That's the idea. I'm trying for the same thing with La Croix.
I think you're more likely to get a free one of them, to be honest.
Probably, yeah. But there was a baseball game called, I want to say it's called like Super Mega Baseball 3. And it's not licensed or anything, but it's kind of silly and over the top and fun. And I've really been enjoying playing that. That's been something that's allowed me to kind of turn my brain off a little bit and scratch that nostalgic sports game itch that I used to have. My wife and I, Timothy, we've been watching a lot of Netflix and because I was just talking to Tom recently about this, where, it's getting to the point where television has almost become what movies. I mean, you're really getting the same level of writing, the same level of direction and cinematography, and to some extent, it may be even better because they're able to explore stories, longer. You know what I mean?
I do, but I think I was thinking about this the other day. I think there's something in the pacing of a film. A film has generally a shorter period of time to tell a story, so you don't get the filler stuff.
Yeah.
I think a film can generate more excitement.
Sure.
Saying that, but then you don't get to know the characters as well. I see what you're saying, but I've gone back to films recently after staying away from them for a long time because I got a bit fed up of having to have a 20 to 30 hour commitment to watch a story all the way to the end, really.
Yeah, and it is a commitment, but I think a lot of us are doing it right now.
Yeah.
Here is...
I'm working. Go on,
yes.
carry on.
I'm not sure the pronunciation on this.
I'll help.
Squiz 1234 SKWZ. Would you go with Squiz, or would the K be silent in this? Would it be Squiz?
The K is definitely silent.
Okay,
yeah.
So Squiz 1234. Any games that give you a great sense of exploration? There's a lot, actually. In my book, you look like you're struggling to think of any. Or have you played Seventh Continent? I didn't. I've been on the record. I don't really like Seventh Continent, but I do think one thing it did well was that exploration, that sense of exploration.
I've recently got Lord of the Rings: Journeys into Middle Earth, and that probably gives you some kind of exploration. Although mainly it gives you running away panicked from various orcs and stuff like that, flapping your arms. Ah, you're gonna get us. I don't think you know me, Mike. I know board games do a lot of things very well, and I'm not convinced they do exploration very well.
Even in the dungeon crawl sense, where you're exploring areas that aren't...
So, but most dungeon crawls these days. In fact, I was talking about this with a friend of mine who's wanting just a dungeon crawl that kind of opens up as you go along and is almost randomly generated. And it's rare you get that these days. You usually have to put the entire map down on a board first, and then maybe populate it with monsters or whatever as you go into each room. But it's rare that you get one that you don't know what's around the next corner. You don't know if you go left, is it going to be a dead end? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like Masmorra, actually, is because it is one of those randomly generated dungeons that when you go, you put a new tile out and you don't know what that tile is going to be. I like that. I like that sense of not, of being afraid a little bit when you flip that tile over.
It feels a bit old school, but I like a bit of old school dungeon crawl. I think that's always what I'm looking for when I'm doing a dungeon crawl. It's old school rather than innovative stuff.
Yes.
I'm
going to follow that up with another question from Swizz with the silent K 1234. Mike, your thoughts on Nemesis? And I'm bringing this up because I've had a lot of people asking me about it. We did a live play. Dan, I'm sure you watched that 3-hour live play that we did. Myself and Tom and Z.
I was riveted. I was riveted.
It actually was a very entertaining session, but I understand that not everyone wants to or can sit through 3 hours.
You say so yourself.
Well, indeed. But Nemesis is a really tricky one. I like it a fair bit, but it's a game like Battlestar Galactica where I think that there are some sessions of it that are fantastic, and there's some sessions of it that aren't very good, and I think that it's quite group dependent, and I think that there are some wonky mechanics, and I think that player elimination generally can be an issue. So I always put a lot of caveats when I talk about enjoying Nemesis, because I do. The bottom line is I do like it quite a bit, but I always say that it's with a lot of things that you have to keep in mind especially if you're looking to buy it, because it's not cheap. I definitely think it's a game that if you can play it first, you really should, because it's not going to be a game for everybody. There's just a lot of things that you may not like about it. You were at least intrigued by it, right?
I was very much on the fence about it, but I decided because I like the, well, it's not the IP, is it? But it is the IP. I like the Aliens type IP.
Absolutely.
And there's so much positive buzz about it. So I was, and because you can't get it in the shops, I thought, well, do I need to get it now on the Kickstarter, which is what obviously obviously is one of their selling points for this Kickstarter. But I decided not to get it because I don't really enjoy the kind of semi-co-op nature of Dead of Winter. And I know you can play just purely co-op on Nemesis, but I don't know. I just decided that it was too much money to not get a game until January, and I was just, when you're in one of those moods where you just want to spend some money and it would scratch an itch, and then it would come in January, I'd have probably painted it all then and have sold it. So
sure.
So I decided against it. I decided to be a grown up and not spend that money on that. So yeah,
adulting is hard. Here's an interesting question from EarthFat.
I
have very strong opinions about this question, Dan.
Uh-oh.
Very strong opinions. Do you like your oatmeal super wet or a bit drier? And there is only one correct answer to this question.
I like it. Well, I've got two things to say about this before you jump in with your opinion.
I'm hanging back because I know I'm right, so there's no rush.
I prefer it wet than dry because it gums up your entire mouth if it's dry. You end up not being able to open your mouth and things like that. But also, on the internet somewhere is a video of me making oatmeal out of oatmeal and Diet Coke as opposed to milk, and
I've
trying
seen
that.
that
So
video.
if anyone wants to track that down, that was about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, I'll give you a bit of spoiler. It doesn't taste very nice. It tastes a lot worse than you'd expect it to taste, actually. But yeah, go on then.
So just
like
picture
fried,
what Dan has just explained to you, and you're picturing in your mind what that video would look like. It looks exactly what you think it looks like, and so please save yourself the mental anguish and strain, and just go with his vivid description that he just gave you, Dan. What you've described is gruel. And so if you would like to walk around your house with your wooden bowl sloshing around with gruel, then you just go ahead and do that. The proper consistency and viscosity of oatmeal should be just wet enough that it clumps together. This soupy, wet, I don't know what you described just there, but no, it needs to be quite a bit drier. It should have a nice clumpy consistency. It should be gummy. The gummy is good, Dan. When you've hit gummy, now you know you're at the proper viscosity for an oatmeal.
You're talking absolute rubbish, and it's not for the first time in this video either, Mike, is it? Let's face it. You've got form already on this video. No, do you call it oatmeal? Do you ever call it porridge?
No. We actually speak English here. We call it oatmeal. Porridge is peas, right? It's just another word for peas.
What? Porridge
peas,
is word
porridge.
For peas? Absolute.
Yeah. It's the same thing, right? Isn't it?
No.
Okay.
Porridge and oatmeal is the same thing. But if you now, would you have it with milk?
I personally don't but people will put milk in their oatmeal. I personally don't.
What do you put
Here's
in
the thing. I rarely eat oatmeal. Let me just go on the record. I rarely eat oatmeal. And when I do, it was about 25 to 30 years ago, and it was out of a packet with a whole lot of flavoring. So I would eat like the brown sugar cinnamon Quaker Oats, or the apple cinnamon Quaker Oats, and you just put in just enough hot water to get it so that it's in your bowl. First of all, you had to put about 75 of those packets into a bowl to get an actual portion of it, because you don't just drink water like you're describing.
Right. Well, you're having powdered milk, so you are having milk in it.
Okay,
anyway,
that's true.
So anyway, I'd like to quote from the chat here. He is talking rubbish. How can someone who never eats oatmeal have a strong opinion? And do you know who that's from, Mike? Take one guess who that's from.
It could be my wife.
It is your wife.
She wouldn't say rubbish though.
Well, she said it now. She said it now, and she's right. She's right.
Well, look. If one thing is clear, it's that Tiffany is usually right.
Dave said I do, but we'll gloss over that. Gloss over that tragedy.
Here's another good question.
Never eats oatmeal. Capital letters.
I just said I don't eat oatmeal. I said it was like 25 or 30 years ago the last time I ate oatmeal. Actually, Tiffany eats oatmeal quite a bit, but she eats it like healthy. And although I don't think she makes hers too soupy. I don't know. I don't think she makes hers very soupy.
This is riveting stuff.
It is.
I bet everyone's pleasing. What hour are we on now? 44 minutes in.
This is gold, baby. James Brazil asks, Dan, I thought this was to both of us, but that's all right. I'll butt in anyway. Dan, who is your favorite James Bond?
I have quite a soft spot for Roger Moore, to be honest.
Nice. That's my choice as well. Roger Moore is my choice as well.
the whole concept of James Bond is relatively ridiculous, and he really plays up the ridiculousness of it. Really, I like that kind of light-hearted Roger Moore Bond. They're all good, to be fair.
Yes.
They're all good. There's not one that I haven't liked. But yeah.
And I do. Tiffany did say rubbish.
She did. She told you so.
He is talking rubbish. How can someone who never eats oatmeal have a strong opinion? Look, Tiffany,
I am on the edge of my
she
seat.
should
I have
know.
Never seen Mike eat oatmeal.
She should know by now that having personal experience in something has never been a requirement for me to have a strong opinion about it. Nick Wagner asks, "Do Brits have grits?" I just like the rhyming.
I got a big argument with Sam Healy about this because he claims that they're actually fit for human consumption, whereas I have had a grit in a Waffle House in Orlando, Florida. I don't know if you know the Waffle House. It's next to the knockoff Disney store.
Sure, I'm familiar.
It was next to a knockoff Disney store, actually. I would like to point out. With Matthew Jude, me and Matthew Jude, the Dice Towers Voice of Youth, were having grits, and they're possibly the most disgusting thing I've ever eaten in my entire life. I'm
not a fan of grits.
Absolutely rancid. I was expecting something that stuck together, not this kind of
soupy gruel.
Soupy gruel.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not oatmeal,
to me what it sounds like you were describing that oatmeal. To be fair, Dan, I don't know that you should ever judge a food that you've never eaten before by the Waffle House.
Don't you slander the Waffle House. Don't you slander the Waffle House.
I'm just saying. One Pip Wonder says peaches and cream. Peaches and cream is the best. You're right. That is probably my favorite flavor of those oatmeal packets. Dan, I'm telling you, we're breaking new ground with this daily chat. This has been this has been something. I like how people have just stopped asking about games at this point.
Yeah, why would they? No
the pretense. One Pip Wonder coming with the heat. Favorite cartoon character. Look. This is well known, but I'm going to do it again. But I'm going to let you go first.
You're going to have the Pete Puma impression in a minute.
Yes.
At the moment, I'm a massive fan of She-Ra, the new She-Ra Netflix cartoon.
Yeah,
I've been really, really enjoying that. And so I don't know if She-Ra herself would be my favourite character. I like Beast Boy from Teen Titans Go as well. But for my
Beast Boy is great.
For my youth, I'd say Daffy Duck. Daffy Duck, the anarchic, flawed, selfish, yet ultimately good character of Daffy Duck. I love a bit of Daffy.
Daffy Duck is great. I've mentioned on our podcast, so listeners will know. But I go with a more obscure Looney Tunes character of Pete Puma, who was in, I believe, 2 Bugs Bunny cartoons, and they're probably my favorite cartoons. And Pete Puma is great. He's trying to get this little rabbit. He's trying to eat this rabbit because he's a puma, and at least according to the lore of Looney Tunes, pumas eat rabbits. I'm assuming they would. And Bugs Bunny sees this little bunny that's going to get eaten by this Pete Puma, and so he spends this entire cartoon outwitting and making Pete Puma out to be the buffoon that he is. But it's just a great character with a great voice, and I do a bad impression, but I just love, how many lumps do you want? 3 or 4. That kind of thing. So I love Pete Puma. That is my favorite cartoon character. And now I've annoyed Tiffany in the other room.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Actually, I think, again, that ship sailed a long time ago. I'm calling her Timothy all night, making up stories about oatmeal. I have a feeling that I've outdone myself this evening.
Yeah. Dan says Kent Parker. Kent Parker with a second question, thinking he's all that.
Is it towards the bottom?
I've now decided Kent Parker is my arch nemesis. You're my arch nemesis, Kent Parker.
Is this a painting minis question?
Yeah.
Okay, I put it up there. Go ahead.
Okay, when did I first start painting minis, and how did I learn to improve my painting abilities? I started ultimately when I was 18 with Games Workshop Space Marines and stuff like that, but then I didn't do it again for a long period of time. I really think improving I think it's so easier to learn how to paint minis now than it used to be because of YouTube. I just watch YouTube videos. The Games Workshop, he's left now, unfortunately. But the guy who used to do the Games Workshop tutorials was amazing. And after a while, I think once you get your hand control down, so you're not going over the lines all the time, and then you start building up techniques, because it's not really a skill, isn't painting, or not kind of to tabletop level. You got to get to a skill level of going inside the lines, but then it's all technique. Then it's all use this paint in this situation, use that paint in that situation, dry brushing, things like that, and you kind of build up these little techniques until. And I was copying what the Games Workshop guy, I can't remember what his name is, was doing, and also Sinstro as well. He's very good. Uncle Atom on Tabletop Millions, he's fantastic.
Wasn't he the villain from Masters of the Universe? Sinstro. No, it was Skeletor.
Skeletor. Sinstro was a villain from Green Lantern.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think his name Sinestro, is it? I can't remember what his name is. You've made me lose my track now.
Oh, you were making a point. I'm sorry.
I was giving,
okay.
I was laying down some knowledge.
Oh, you were laying down. You were laying down something. All right, you were definitely laying down something. It was thick. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I can't remember what I was going to say. But yeah, it's amazing how quickly you progress. I think if you watch it, you start copying these people, and then you work out when the techniques can be used elsewhere, and then do it. I'm not a good painter, but I'm an adequate painter. I'm about as high as I want to go, because you have to start spending some real time on stuff if you want to get it really nice. But yeah,
I'm always envious of people that, and I know I could do it. I mean, even with my old eyes, I know you can get stuff to help you, but I just know if I were going to do it, I probably would have by now. So I've kind of given up on that dream.
Yeah, and if you don't enjoy doing it, there's no point doing it. I'm just looking for my. Because you're right, that's one thing that really did help me. He's a magnifying glass helmet. I can't find.
Munching Gamer says, I asked game questions, but Mike skipped them. Fair enough. That's probably true. I didn't do it purposefully, but I think I did. I'm probably true with that. There was something I saw earlier that I was going to try to come back to, but there's a whole lot of stuff about the Waffle House.
Yeah, it's a marvellous place, is a Waffle House. The hotel we were staying in Orlando had a Waffle House here, then a knockoff Disney store, then the hotel, then a knockoff Disney store, and then the International House of Pancakes. And I was in my absolute element. One thing that I really love about America is the diner culture. You just don't get that diner culture in the UK.
Yeah,
I adore diners.
Rivercat0338 says Waffle House is like eating in a gas station bathroom. So there's point, counterpoint. So
I like it's earthy. This is
it's earthy.
Yeah.
It's earthy.
I like a good blue collar restaurant, a greasy spoon cafe, as we would call them in the UK.
Nyland One says Hong Kong Fooey. That is another great cartoon character. #1 super guy. Hong Kong Fooey. Yes.
Toad in the Hole. Yeah.
Munching Gamer. Are there any Looney Tunes games? I know that there used to be, like, back for like the Game Boy and stuff. I remember like there were a couple of Looney Tunes games, video games. Now board games, I'm sure there's like just old school IP based, roll and move Looney Tune games, but that would actually be a great IP to do something with it with a more modern game, wouldn't it be?
There's a Looney Tunes Rory Story Cubes, which we own.
Okay.
And that's quite cool. But yeah, it would be good to have I don't think it'd be interesting, because kids these days, Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny, it's not high on their radar at the moment. I mean, it's been a long time since that. I mean, we could talk about how Warner Brothers treat their properties. Another time, but I mean, which is appalling. They never utilize things properly. But not like Disney, where they still very much work hard to keep Mickey Mouse in the forefront of kids' minds, even though they're not really any Mickey Mouse cartoons these days.
No.
As far as Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, but even that must be 10 years old at least.
Sure.
I used to watch that with my daughter. She's 16 now.
Agreed. Yeah.
So yeah, they never after.
Uh-oh, folks. Uh-oh. We may have lost Dan. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Looney Tunes IP. It'd have to be a nostalgic thing.
I think we lost you.
Did I disappear?
Yeah, but I think you're back now. We're going to assume that you didn't say anything of any merit anyway, so that's not a problem. Here's a really good question from Cora Lou. Hello, Cora Lou. When you get a yogurt cup with fruit on the bottom, do you stir it? There is also only one correct answer to this question, Dan.
I do stir it, yes. Unless...
How do you have the wrong choice for every single question?
You meant to stir it, you idiot.
No. It's the prize for making it through all of the yogurt. It's the prize for the yogurt, Dan. Yeah. You can see the prize. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see it. It's there for you. Actually, you can't see it, so strike that. You can see it if it's a clear cup. It usually isn't. But when you go to a place where they have it in clear cups, then it's really exciting because you can see how close you're getting to the prize. You're slowly working your way down to the real reason you're there. The real reason you're there is for the fruit on the bottom, Dan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is how Tiffany gets you to eat your food, isn't it? It's like you can have your fries after you've eaten your broccoli. That's what she says, isn't it? Must be like living with a child, running around screaming because of bugs in the shower and having to say you have to eat your broccoli before you eat your fries.
Dan, if we wanted to go into all the ways that living with me is like living with a child, we would have had to start this discussion back at about 9 p.m. Tiffany says Thundercats. Yeah, Thundercats is awesome too. There hasn't been a Thundercats redo, has there?
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
Did they?
We were talking about this before.
Oh,
we were talking about it with Richard on our podcast. Yeah,
that's right.
It just didn't really stick.
It didn't. Yeah, because I hadn't even seen it at all. So if I'm not aware of it, then it really didn't matter. If it's not part of my world, then it didn't really matter, right? Fine.
Doug Cunningham. He says the best British cartoon was the original Danger Mouse, and he has a very strong point there. But the reason I want to mention it is because my father used to be very close friends with somebody who worked at Cosgrove Hall, which was the place where they made Danger Mouse, and also Count Duckula, and also The Wind in the Willows, and all sorts of stuff. And I got to go round after they finished the working day, and I get to hold all the stop motion animation. I got to meet somebody who was currently inking in this is proper old school animation, you know what I mean? He was colouring in paint, and he showed me how the animation worked, and it was seriously the best day of my life going to Cosgrove Hall. They did some amazing work at Cosgrove Hall. I love stop motion animation. That's my real passion. But
you like the Wallace and Gromit stuff?
Yeah. It wasn't. Adams came a bit later. This was like the premier stop motion studio within the UK at the time, and it was fantastic. But anyway, I was very excited by that. No one knows what I'm talking about, because everyone else who would know what I'm talking about is in bed.
I'm going to take issue with something here. Gator Dave asks Tiffany, how often does Mike eat yogurt? And Tiffany says never. That's not true. I do eat yogurt. Not on a regular basis, but I do eat yogurt. I like yogurt. She says Mike never eats yogurt. I eat yogurt. There have been times when I've gone to granted, lately it's been at Starbucks. If I want something a little more, if I don't want to go with the Cliff Bar route, oftentimes I'll go, not oftentimes, from time to time. Let me be very clear, because I'm being hounded on all sides, but I'm being fact checked in real time. I will eat yogurt from time to time. And I am very much in the minority on this yogurt situation. But look, I stand behind the waiting for the fruit at the bottom. That is what it's all about. Sam Simmons, question for Dan. How's the letters book coming along? Are you still kind of thinking about maybe doing that?
Yeah, sort of. This is I don't know if anyone has ever seen any of my letters from Huddersfield. It's where I write to games designers and people and I don't know, just act the fool, really. It's like a spoof letters type thing.
Yeah.
A bit like the time-wasted letters. No, that's an English thing. Letters from an Idiot, which is one that Jerry Seinfeld was involved with. So just kind of writing to people in a kind of character of this kind of buffoon. It's meant to be kind of gentle, subtle humour. Usually, I'm trying to persuade designers to set their games in Huddersfield, which is my hometown. My idea was to collect these. So I've done quite a lot of them now, and put them together in a book and kickstart the book and use the money from the book to for charity. Like I'm thinking the Red Cross or Doctors Without Borders or something health related, but internationally health related, because I think there's going to be a big need for international health efforts, especially to poorer countries. But yeah, it's going well. It's going well. I can't talk too much about it because I spoil it.
Sure.
But it's going well. I'm still writing them.
Okay.
And they're on my Patreon. If you want to join my Patreon, you can read my letters because they're all on there.
Mason Pierce says, "I prefer my yogurt shaken, not stirred." That's a bold choice. I Gator Dave, this is beyond the pale. Does Mike eat his pizza with a knife and fork? Come on now.
He says you do later on.
Z Garcia weighing in saying, "I stir it, then I bury $1 at the bottom. Yum now and reward later." Well, Z, that's adding a whole new item into the mix. I hadn't considered adding currency into it, but that is an interesting idea. And then we have Swizz with the silent K, 1, 2, 3, 4, Snicker bar with knife and fork. No, that's only for Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld, Elaine's boss in Seinfeld. Mr. Pitt would eat his Snickers bar with a knife and a fork. And then George sees this and thinks that this is how all the snooty rich people, and so he goes to the Yankee. Anyway, all right. Dan, we're getting close to that time, and it's about 4 a.m. for you, yes, or close to it, 3 a.m., right?
3 a.m.
3 a.m. So do you want to try to end with one question? Do you see a question that you would like to end with?
No. A few things. Neelan says Huddersfield football is awesome, and it really isn't, Neelan.
Okay.
Because they're very bad at the football.
Is this Neelan from Board Game Barrage or a different Neelan?
I think so. I'm guessing it's him. It's Neelan 1. So
I don't know. It's spelled differently. I think it's a different Neelan.
Oh, right, okay.
Because Neelan from Board Game Barrage doesn't have a D at the end. It's just Neelan.
Oh, right, okay. Anyway, my son's a season ticket holder, but I couldn't care less. Oh yeah, he goes with his granddad, and I'm pleased about it. No, you choose a thing.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to find something here. I'm going to find a little something. It will very likely not have to do anything to do with games, because Dan and I have taken things very much off the rails, as I knew we would.
Mike's the ventriloquist and I'm his puppet. What?
I like the way that sounds. Who said that?
That's Jerry Baker. If there's anything going on here, he's a psychic. Just because he got a job on the Dice Tower. I was a dominant person in this relationship, and then he goes off and gets a job on the Dice Tower, and then suddenly I'm second fiddle. Now Matthew Jude is on the Watch It Play channel. I'm left being a nobody. We've got Dice Tower and Watch It Play. I made them what they are today. I tell you, if Shut Up and Sit Down don't take me on board, I need to get my status up right away, because I'm not having these two being higher up on the totem pole than me.
Well, Dan, it's cute how you think that this has all went down. But rather than trying to search for a question, I think that we need to let you off the hook. It has been a lovely, lovely evening, and thank you, chat, for putting up with my and Dan's typical level of nonsense. We did talk about games a little bit. We actually talked about games a lot more than we ever do on our podcast. So there is that, at least. But it was wonderful to have you all here. It was wonderful for the to see all the great comments. And now Roy's trying to jump in here at the last minute. I love Dan. Nothing to do with I love Mike. That's all right, Roy. It's okay. That's not a problem. We'll let that go. So. Thanks again for everybody. Thank you, Dan, for staying up super late / early. I really do appreciate it, all joking aside.
That's fine.
It was a lot of fun,
like the attention.
Indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, I guess all that's left to say is
Goodbye.
goodbye.